Welcome to Charts Today Energy for Monday, the 8th of October. My name is David Linton, and today's edition comes to you from London. And most of the energy mix falling this morning. Just taking a look at the macro situation, stock markets falling fairly heavily across the board. The Chinese market down some nearly 4% on Chinese banks, increasing liquidity to banks. So we are seeing that having a knock-on effect to stocks, although gold, normally a risk asset, is actually falling down nearly 0.5% as well. The euro continues to look weak against the dollar. A strong dollar really is a key factor coming in there, and we're seeing that dollar strength is key. Against the yen, though, the dollar is falling. And sterling is falling quite heavily this morning as well. So we're seeing that flight to the yen as a time of risk, and we're seeing sterling kicking lower as well, kicking lower against the euro. So taking a look at energy prices. Brent crude down this morning, down 1.3% after a very strong week last week. So we're still very much bullish above the cloud. Here's the long-term chart. We've got one upside target to $94 on Brent, which is on the 0.5% chart, but it's a lone target, so we hold some caution there. We did meet these mid targets in the mid 80s, so these targets were given and met, but we are seeing Brent just coming back, so that's quite key. Looking at Brent this morning, we saw it was fairly strong until around 7 o'clock, and then we're just seeing this gradual deterioration. We've got short-term downside targets of 83 and 82, so does look like we'll go lower. Correlation on against the dollar is still quite strong. Short-term, still negatively correlated as we'd expect on the medium-term daily chart. Taking a look at WTI, we see here that WTI is also heading bearish below the cloud. We've got a downside target of 72 on WTI. No clear upside targets, but we're still holding the bullish position on the medium and long-term charts. US nat gas holding quite strong above this $3 level. Last week we were hitting 9-month highs, the highest levels we've seen this year, and we see this is still looking relatively strong, holding on to its short-term bullishness. If we take a look at the correlations with oil, we see here on nat gas we're quite an increase here in the correlation, so we have been following crude quite closely. Negative correlation kicking in there on the short-term chart, not falling as heavily as nat gas. Taking a look at coal, we see coal down 0.75%, back below the $100 mark on API2. So looking a little bit lower there, we've got a downside target of $97, $96.83. So it does look like we've got another couple of dollars to go lower on coal, although it is holding its bullish trends on all 3 time frames. And here we just see the picture over the last 5 days just deteriorating that few dollars below the $100 mark. On Richards Bay, we are holding the $103 mark, so we haven't seen that falling away the same way as API2. Emissions this morning are up slightly, so bucking the trend on energy mix, looking very bullish still on the long-term charts. Short, and we're seeing here the correlation with crude falling away, so crude falling not really affecting emissions prices, and here we see the rise in emissions. We have got an upside target to 23.80 if we make a new high, some 5% higher, but we need to make a new high to activate that. Looking at the gas market, we see MBP, this is the ICE contract, up 1.83%, down 1.83% this morning, so heading a bit lower there, and just seeing that sell off. We've got a downside target to 73.20, so another 1% lower, and looking pretty strong still on the medium to long term picture. TTF not falling away as heavily, MBP not falling away as heavily. TTF we're seeing here where we are seeing the falls there. Looking at German gas, NCG, we see here again we're down some 1%, and Italian gas being hit harder, obviously less liquid, down some 2% this morning. So gas markets are falling in line with the crude oil price. Looking at power, we see German power just off very slightly this morning, so still holding its strength. We've still got these upside targets on German power, quite impressive, 58.10, 57.70, 59.60, not yet activated, but it does bode well for the power price in the short term. Taking a look at French power, we see here French power also just holding its position this morning, so looking reasonable. Nordic power bucking the trend, up 1%, so we are seeing an increase here, bullish above the trend, and we've got these targets about 3% higher, 2 to 3% higher on Nordic power, so looking a little bit better there as well. And UK power down 1.5%, so quite a mixed picture across the board there. Czech power up 0.5% this morning, and again holding its bullish position. And then not much change on Polish power. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.